Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. In the town of Surrey, BC, they suddenly realized $100,000 in fireworks just went missing. Poof! Last time they did inventory, and now all those fireworks went missing. Now, I will confess, I'm not sure precisely what fireworks the city is using. I'm sure they're using something more professional than the stuff you buy in a gas station where it's still legal to buy them. Around here it's not. But in Surrey, just as is here, fireworks are banned. Now, normally, I would be on the side of freedom here. And I'd be saying, let people have their fireworks. But over the past few years, they've been such a gaggle of horrible experiences that I've had to come down on the, no, you can't have your fireworks, sorry, side. Let me explain why. We have 3 days a year where we used to be allowed to shoot hot fireworks off. Victoria Day, Canada Day, and Diwali had some sort of special permit. I forget how the city worded it, but while it wasn't an official holiday, it was allowed in city limits. 2 years ago, you may have recalled I mentioned this, the celebrants of Diwali, and I'm not referring to a religion because you don't have to be a religion to be told, hey, we're having a party, we're shooting off fireworks, come on down, bring what you have. And first of all, the noise went on for days. I'm a little bit of a night hawk. I don't do a lot of recording at night. When I do, I'm in my downstairs studio where you see the plants. But this thing would go on. It was like Baghdad during the invasion. Just every so often, stuff would pop off. That's unfair. The people in Baghdad that went through the invasion, they got mental scars for life. I had to put up with a few fireworks. My point being, people couldn't stand up and follow the very simple rules they were given. Don't light them off in public spaces. Don't light them off, by a tree, etc., etc. As you can see with that tree by my house, I don't set off a lot of fireworks. And that's simply because there's a lot more trees like that, and I have no idea where these things are coming down, when they're hot, when they're incendiary, and when they can do damage. But if you've watched my show for any time now, you know I'm generally cautious. I do have a little bit of a wild side, but there's no point to spending $20 on a firework display when it's going to wind up with an arson claim. Let's get back to Surrey, BC. I'm sure Surrey is not the only one that has a problem with stuff going missing. I don't know what percentage of a fireworks show $100,000 is, but I'm guessing it's more than 1%. I'm guessing it's more than 10%. And that's as far as I'm willing to guess. Surrey, BC, has a decent-sized population. They're not leaving this stuff in a warehouse somewhere. They've got it under relative lock and key. It wouldn't be like, trying to break into a ammunition dump or something like that, but it still would be harder to get into than the salt stores for winter to pull up a random item that I know they have. It kind of proves that you can make anything illegal, but enforcement is the toughest thing. I have a lot of sympathy for law enforcement when it comes for this particular law, because it's nearly impossible to enforce. People know fireworks are now illegal. So they're going to do what how am I going to say this? I don't want to use the T word. What every freedom fighter has learned over the past bit. If you sit there and set off your fireworks, or for freedom fighters, whatever you have, the enemy's going to figure it out. They're going to triangulate you and bust you. And I've noticed for the past year and a half that fireworks have been illegal. They've adopted the same pattern, word for word. They shoot some fireworks off, move locations, and shoot off from somewhere else. I don't know, as a police officer, what you do with that tactic. You can get a few cruisers in the area and you can figure out where it is. But I don't know about you, but when we were kids and we saw the cops pull up, we knew the best idea was to be anywhere else. Literally anywhere. And I'm sure the youth of today have not forgotten that in any way, shape, or form. And it's not necessarily the youth. I imagine a lot of the late night fireworks display, alcohol was involved. Now, no judgment on people that use alcohol. I'm the wrong person to be throwing stones in that house. And you make some stupid decisions. There's also people that get home really late at night and they just want to see their heritage, their culture, their tradition, whether it be Victoria Day, whether it be Diwali, whatever else. These things go off at random every month or so. I'm going to just guess off the top of my head. It's not any fixed time frame, but it happens. So there's these people that no matter what you do, they're not going to obey the law. And it's nearly impossible to enforce the law. Does that mean we give up? No. And you might be thinking, but Silverlight, you just said the law is impossible to enforce and therefore it's ineffective. Yes and no. That is what I implied, but it's not what I meant. You see, I grew up in those brutal old days of the 70s and the 80s. And I remember my grandparents and uncles and great uncles and stuff like that being very resistant to the idea of seatbelts. Hell, in the United States, I remember for a little bit, they had seatbelts that automatically came down and buckled you in. They were that determined to beat it into people's heads that you were to wear seatbelts. Cops would occasionally bust somebody for not wearing a seatbelt, usually throwing a cigarette out the window and finishing their quart of vodka. But the seatbelt was still enforced to such a degree. The education was there. That Mothers Against Drunk Driving car, remember it going around saying these are the dangers of drunk driving? I think I also recall a seatbelt car. I might be wrong there. This is memory going back decades. But they basically got the point so that my generation, by and large, knew we were not supposed to be jumping in the car without a seatbelt. And you know what? Even though the cops didn't need to just stand there and pull everybody over and give everybody a ticket, the message still got through. So this is the thing. In order to make this work, we have to be committed to doing this for generations so that people get the message. You know what? It's 2023. It's not 1973. And in those days, the amount of dangerous crap we did was ridiculous. Lawn darts, are you kidding? We were pretty regimented, although most people did the same thing, where you threw your lawn darts. When everybody was done, you marched down to the other ring or goal or whatever you had, and then everybody threw back the other way. And adults had enough of a sense, well, some adults would play with us to make sure that everybody was doing the same thing, but they knew not to point those things towards people. They have the rings across the yard instead of up and down it so that nobody gets a lawn dart in their bean casserole or whatever disgusting thing they had in the 1970s and 80s. So, over time, the fireworks, just like the seatbelt, well, not the seatbelt ban, the ban on not having a seatbelt, the ban on fireworks will start becoming ingrained in our culture. It certainly was better last year than it was the year before. There was some recidivism, but like I said, that's going to take time. Tonight, being that it's Halloween, I'm sure lots of things are going to happen. Without revealing details, what is the age that a child should be allowed to go around with their parents and what is the age that they should be allowed to go on with their friends? Haven't found a consistent answer yet. I have an opinion. But that's as far as it's going, is my opinion. And yesterday was Devil's Night. Now, my wife, God bless her, has never heard of Devil's Night. And I think mostly it's a tradition that has gone away. But it hasn't quite been stamped out, and I'm sure there's a few youths out there that still think it's fun to spray paint the side of a church or throw a rock through a car window, and I'm sure insurance claims have gone up today. That being said, it's not like it was when we were younger, where the teenagers would go out, "Yep, you're not allowed to go trick-or-treating anymore, it's time to do Devil's Night." I'm sure no parent ever said that, but that's the way the children felt. And again, this is a generational thing. I don't think it's as bad. I could be wrong. I'm only going off what I see. But from what I see, it's better. So when people say, oh, banning firearms isn't going to take the firearms away, no, but you wait a little bit, and eventually they will drop out of culture. You're not going to take my firearm except for my cold, dead hands. Well, you know what? Time's on my side. I just need to keep that law around and enforcing the few idiots that are dumb enough to go around and brandish their firearms, to quote that famous saying. As a joke, as a complete joke, my little one decided she wanted to go as a pirate this year. And I hung a World War II Navy saber on the side so that she could feel what it was like to be dressed as a pirate. And I joked with her, hey, you want to leave school real early tomorrow? And we all had a laugh at that because I'm never going to do it. It's one thing in a house for a kid to explore what a real pirate feels like. But around here, we had a child who uploaded a picture of a firearm to their Facebook, and they locked the whole school down. So yeah, I was going to try to figure out if I could give her like a plastic sword or something to complete her look. I said, people are stupid these days with stuff like that. But you know what? I'd rather we were stupid and were paranoid than have one of those kids decide to come in and show us that picture in real life. Because even if they don't mean anything, and I know my little one is not going to be brandishing a frickin' naval saber at school, that's just insane. And even she, at her young age, knew that was not appropriate school attire. She kind of chided me and then realized that I was joking. So we are getting through to kids. This is something, it's never going to go away, but it's going to reduce. And that's the best that we can hope for. Reduce things to a dull murmur so that the people who are out violating the law, whether it's taking pictures of their firearms on the account of a 10-year-old child, whether it's brandishing a saber at school, or setting off fireworks, it's something that takes time and patience. And patience is not something people have these days. So with that, if you're going to fire your fireworks, please do it in a safe spot. I understand it's annoying to bury it in a pot of soil and run out, 30 meters or whatever the heck it is. But just do it as safe as you can. If you're in a street and there's old growth trees around, don't fire your fireworks. Look up, make sure it's clear, and realize the wind has a big effect on what you're shooting up there. So with that, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, please like, share, don't forget to comment. If you can, click on the bell down just above the comments, because that'll alert you every single time a new episode comes out. And we hope you have a fantastic day.